else has started screen sharing. I don't know what that's about. I said I have it on. It's only one participant can share at a time.
She beat you to it.
No, I was sharing before. So I don't know what to do because now I'm viewing somebody else's screen. But my screen says only one participant can share at a time.
And I have.
Who can share? Only host. Okay, I just changed to that.
Yeah, because that was a participant in the waiting room. So I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, okay. And so what? Do I have to bring it back up now? Yep. All right. Better? Back up?
Perfect.
All right.
Got it. Okay.
Okay.
Are you guys ready to admit everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Ready whenever you are.
Okay, we're going live now.
All right, looks like everybody's in. Okay, welcome everyone. My name is Wayne Huddleston. I'm the Senior Area Manager for U.S. Small Business Administration here in the territory. Welcome to the 5th SBA Forum to discuss coronavirus relief and funding options. Tonight, like the other nights, we are going to give you a general overview of our two programs that are designed to help businesses address the impacts of the coronavirus pandemic. Those are EIDL and PPP. We will also cover some other basic information about SBA, how to contact us and resource partners. But the primary purpose of these forums is to allow you the opportunity to ask us questions and get answers directly from us on how we can assist you at this time. So without further ado, what I'd like to do is introduce my colleague, Lisa Shamley-Akui. She is on St. Thomas. She is new to SBA, but she's become a quick learner of our EIDL and PPP programs. So I'd like her to provide an overview of those programs for you at this time. So go ahead, Lisa.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you, Wayne, for that kind introduction. I better live up to your expectations. So we're going to go on to a comparison of the two CARES Act programs for the coronavirus. The first is the Paycheck Protection Program, and the second is the, and we'll call that the PPP for this afternoon's presentation. And the second is the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, and we'll call that the EIDL. So the PPP is the one that we have been promoting over the last couple of weeks simply because of the deadline, and that deadline is available to tomorrow, June 30th, 2020. And while SBA will be accepting lender loan transmission until 11:59 on the 30th, it's a little bit more difficult if you haven't yet applied to find a lender who will actually do the application and then submit it to SBA for you. There are a few, but we'll go on. The PPP is eligible to businesses that have been operating since February 15th, 2020 or before. The loan amount is up to 10 million. However, the formula used to calculate what you can be approved for was your net income or your payroll divided by 12 and then multiplied by 2.5, which gives you a rough calculation of 10 weeks of pay. And that was to, it was designed as a direct incentive for small businesses to bring their workers back onto the payroll, even if the businesses were only partially operating or even if they were not operating. For the PPP, loan payments would be deferred for 10 months and the repayment term would be up to 5 years. The interest rate for any portion that was not forgiven or forgivable would be 1%. And in terms of looking at what was eligible for forgiveness, they're looking at a 60% use of the proceeds on payroll expenses, a minimum of 60% and a maximum of 40% on other expenses like rent, mortgage interest, and utilities. For the PPP, no collateral or personal guarantees are required. When we look at the economic injury disaster loan, the EIDL, that loan is another loan for the pandemic, but that one has a longer time for application, and that is available to all small businesses through December 2020. Again, eligible for businesses that were showing or that were operating prior to February 1, and you can borrow up to $150,000. For the EIDL, you apply directly through www.sba.gov, and after they review your business payroll and expenses, they make a determination about how much you're eligible for. For the EIDL, loan payments are deferred for 12 months. Repayment term is very generous, up to 30 years. There are two sets of interest rates. For small businesses, the interest rate would be 3.75%. and 2.75% for nonprofits. Part of the EIDL loan is an advance, and the advance can be up to $10,000, and it is based on the number of employees you have. So if you have 2 employees, there could be an advance of $2,000. If there's 5,000. If you have 40 employees, then the cap is still up to $10,000. For loans, for EIDL loans under 25,000, no collateral is needed. For over 25,000, you must pledge available collateral. And you can have, if you had an existing EIDL loan from like Irma or Maria, you can still qualify for this COVID pandemic EIDL loan, but the loans cannot be consolidated. So some updates, those persons who took PPP applications before June 5th had 8 weeks to use the proceeds and 2 years to pay it back. However, if your lender and the borrower mutually agree to extend the maturity of the loans, then that loan could also be eligible for maturity for 5 years. Any loans applied for after June 5th, the maturity is just 5 years. The deferral period for all the loans, all PPP loans, 10 months. The forgiveness period is 24 weeks beginning on the date your PPP loan was disbursed. And the forgiveness, as we spoke to, is a 60-40 ratio with a minimum of 60% being used on payroll expenses and a maximum of 40% being used on payroll expenses. So over the weekend, the SBA and US and the Treasury Department put out a loan calculator document, and it helps a wide variety of business types understand how do they calculate their loan forgiveness. So we encourage you to go on www.sba.gov and look for a PDF that's called How to Calculate Loan Amounts, depending on the type of businesses. It's very detailed and it's a good help, but there are about 10 different categories of businesses, so we won't go into that here. And the eligibility, they also revised some eligibility so that persons with felonies, specifically non-financial felonies, the look back period would be reduced. Another one of the last minute changes to eligibility was that over the weekend as well, fishing boat owners could apply for a PPP, and instead of treating their captains or their crew as 1099 employees, they could report the payroll paid to a crew member as a payroll cost in its PPP application. So those were a couple of changes that we've seen recently. In terms of transparency, the SBA and US Treasury will disclose the business names, addresses, NAICS codes, zip codes, business type, demographic data of all PPP applicants. And it'll be done by business for anyone taking out a loan of 150,000 or more. The majority of the loans, many of them were under 50,000, and the current average of the loan is, I think, 108,000. So for loans below 150,000, just the totals will be released, aggregated by zip code, by industry, by business type, and by various demographic categories. I'm going to turn it back over to Mr. Huddleston, to Wayne, to go through a little bit more in detail the uses of the EIDL. Wayne, you're still on mute.
All right, thank you, Lisa. Before we cover where we are generally with as far as the stats on the programs in the Virgin Islands, I'm going to touch briefly on EIDL. That's a program that will be continuing past tomorrow through December. You'll have time to apply for this program, but I do want to address a frequent question I get. A lot of folks in the Virgin Islands are used to disaster loans for physical disaster, for home and for business. However, the EIDL loan is different, and the use of those proceeds are very different as well. You cannot use an EIDL loan to buy new equipment, to buy a new vehicle, to expand your business, and to do lots of other things you might be able to do with a physical disaster loan. It is specifically not to be used for these purposes. You're not to refinance long-term debt, repair, replace physical damages, expand facilities, pay dividends and bonuses, relocate. Those are all things you cannot do with an economic injury disaster loan. The primary purpose of an economic injury disaster loan is to give you working capital that you otherwise would not have received because your revenue has gone down because of the coronavirus. It can be used to pay your lease on your space, other bills that you have monthly that are ongoing, and it can be used for payroll, it can be used for lots of other things, but not these purposes. So I just wanted to touch upon that briefly. I want to go over the overall numbers that we have here. So as of June 27th, overall nationwide, almost 4.8 million PPP loans have been approved at over $519 billion. And that's from over 5,400 lenders across the United States. Here in the Virgin Islands, we're a little over 1,700 now for $122 million, and almost, it's probably a little bit beyond that now, but a little over $122 million, and that is just here in the Virgin Islands. And it's important to remember that all that is forgivable. That's $122 that qualifies for forgiveness if the borrowers spend and show that they use those funds appropriately, primarily to pay payroll. The average nationwide is 8,000. So on the EIDL loan, those have continued to grow over the country. We've had 1.7 million EIDL loans approved for 150 billion. Here in the territory, it's 1,477 advances that have been dispersed for over 5 million. It's important to remember that those advances are basically forgivable. They're not anything. Sorry, I get a lot of feedback. But if you're not on mute, please put yourself on mute. The last thing I would say is that the EIDL, over 1,000 loans have been approved so far in Virgin Islands for $64 million, a little over that. That's a good amount. That is far more than we've had combined all disasters on EIDL loans. That's more EIDL loans we've had in all the previous disasters. Next slide, Lisa. I do want to touch upon this. This is a training program that is available to all Virgin Island businesses right now. You click on this, you can register as a Virgin Island business. You will have to select the Puerto Rico office, and you will have to select that your business is located in a hub zone area, which is what the entire Virgin Island is considered a hub zone. But if you indicate both of those, you can register for any of these online web trainings available free of charge to Virgin Island businesses. So I want to share that with you. And then lastly, these are some good resources for additional information. We put all our information on our website with regards to PPP, EIDL, and everything else that we do is on our site. You can also get more information directly from the treasury.gov site. They post every interim final rule which governs each of these programs. And all those documents are also on the Treasury site. We have a listing of other federal resources at covid-sb.org, which is a site set up by America's Small Business Development Center site. And then locally, we encourage you to use the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center for that one-on-one assistance. We can provide, at SBA, we can provide you information on the programs and point you in the right direction. But as far as sitting down with you and talking through your business and making sure you're applying to your business, and making sure you're SBDC will be able to do that for you. Next slide, Lisa. And then lastly is our contact. So you can get updates from us at our website, sba.gov/PR. Lisa is also manning our Twitter account, and she's providing updates for the entire office and Puerto Rico. So you can, if you are on Twitter, I suggest you sign up for that as well. And you can always contact us at the phone numbers. I encourage you, though, that if you do need to speak with one of us, that you just email us directly. It's a little bit easier for us to respond and have a record. We are getting a high volume of people trying to reach out to us, and sometimes on voicemail, we can't get to it as quickly as we can through email. And then I encourage you to use the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center. Well, we can provide very basic information as far as one-on-one assistance to help you with your applications and all other things regarding your business. They have some excellent business advisors at the SBDC, and that's their whole purpose here, is to help you with not only our programs, but local programs and other federal resources that are available to help. So with that, like I said, we want to be very and brief on our part of the presentation and open it for you to answer your questions.
So Wayne, before we open it up to questions, as you were mentioning SBDC, I just want to invite Ted online for a minute and to talk about the website that they are asking businesses to fill out. Welcome, Ted.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Lisa and Wayne, and good afternoon to all the participants out there. I just want to remind all these small business owners in the territory that there is a survey going on with in the SBDC and the Economic Development Authority to report how your business has been affected by COVID-19. Now is an opportunity to let us know how your business has been affected, what are some of the areas that we can provide additional assistance with, and we can let our legislators know as well. So please go to our website, that's visbdc.org, and at the very top of our website is the link to take that survey. You can also find the link on our Facebook page, of course, Facebook, VISBDC. So please go to those either one of those locations and click on that link if you're a small business owners and tell us how your business has been affected. Now's the time where you can get your voice heard. That does expire this Friday. I believe it's at 5 p.m., but don't wait until this Friday. Please go ahead and take that small business survey and let us know how your business has been affected. And as to what Mr. Huddleston and Ms. Shamley-Quee mentioned, the Small Business Development Center is here at the disposal for as a resource for all the small business owners in the territory. We look forward to working with everybody in terms of how you can go ahead and utilize your PPP funds or applying for the EIDL funds going forward, and anything else that your business needs assistance with. That's what we're here for. So reach out to us, and at the end, we can give you some updated information. But if you look on one of the profiles, you'll see our telephone numbers there as well. So thank you very much. I appreciate it, and ask these folks some great questions. Now's your chance where we have the experts on the webinar. Thank you, Lisa.
Okay. And I am putting the webinar link on the chat in a minute. And I see Priscilla asks if we can speak about the CARES. And Priscilla, is that PUA or PPP was it meant to be? So just if you can confirm that. And I'm sharing the link, and I see that someone is asking for another forum to speak about the forgiveness application process. There's so much information there, and I think that that's something that, Wayne, we will definitely take under consideration and offer. or the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance. That is not under the purview of the SBA, but Ted?
Lisa, if I may, I can speak to that. So this Wednesday at 10 a.m., VI Economic Development Authority has a representative from the Department of Labor to talk a little bit about the PUA. That is something totally different from SBA. So if you're interested in that, visit VIEDA website, which I think is usvieda.org, and you can register for that website. We'll also share that link on the SBDC's website as well. So in regards to unemployment and the PUA, there's a webinar coming up this Wednesday at 10 o'clock.
Okay. Any other questions at this point?
I have a question. So what if a small business did not apply for the PPP? What would be their next step as terms of, should they look at potential, the EIDL loan that you mentioned earlier, the economic injury disaster loans, or what other types of loans from the SBA are there?
Sure. I would suggest if you are in need of assistance, there are some businesses that are doing a great job right now, and the pandemic is not hurting them very much or even maybe increasing their business. But if you have, like most businesses, suffered as a result of the pandemic and lack of tourism and others, I encourage you to consider EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loan. That is a long-term loan with great interest rate. You can always get approved for that loan. And if you decide not to take it, you can return the money or you can pay it off early. There's no penalty for that. But it is good to have that available. And that's available online through our site at sba.gov. You can apply there. It takes about 15 minutes. And they may ask for follow-up documentation, but the process is very simple. There are a lot of other programs offered by other agencies and other entities. But I encourage you for those to contact your SBDC and sit down one-on-one with a business advisor there, talk about your specific situation as a business, and have them help you research options.
I see Debbie asked a question around the time of disbursement after getting an EIDL loan. Debbie, you should know that the advance on that loan, it's just going to show up in the bank account that you put on your application. And without any email, you're not going to get a notification. So check your account for the advance, and then also for the loan disbursement. Wayne, it was taking about what, 10 days for full disbursement of the loan?
Correct. They typically do it within 10 days. It may be sooner. We've had volume that's been going up and down that affects it, but typically within 10 days, you will receive that loan in your bank account.
For what do you use EIDL loans? Short answer, and then Wayne will give you the long answer, and I can always go back to the eligibility, like what it's eligible for. You can use the EIDL loan for any existing operational expenses, not for new growth or expansion, but pretty much anything that you were doing in your business that you were negatively impacted and you need to pay in your strap. That is what you can use the loan for. So existing rent, existing payroll, not to cross the time of the payroll for EIDL with PPP, but after your PPP funds are finished, you can apply EIDL funds for ongoing PPP and other operational expenses like that. We had a slide up, I don't know if you saw it, about what it's not eligible for, and I could always bring that up. Let me see if I can bring that back up. Are you seeing this? Are you seeing the ineligible uses of loan proceeds on the screen? Can someone answer me? Only because I'm juggling a couple of screens.
I'm not seeing it, please.
No, I can't
No.
see it. I can't.
Okay. All right, so I'll bring it back up. Hold on.
And to answer the additional chat, as you're working on that, Lisa, Priscilla, you asked, can you use the funds to pay yourself? And yes, you can, as long as you were paying yourself before. You can't just make it a payday for yourself. If, for instance, if you were approved for $20,000 and you must pay yourself. I'm going to mute myself. I think you got the gist of that.
Lisa, can you make that a bigger screen where you actually view the slide itself?
Click on slideshow, Lisa, from the current slide.
That looks good.
You're muted, Lisa.
Better. So these are some of the things that the idle loan cannot be used for. But you know, the main thing for you to remember is that if you were using whatever your normal operating expenses were before February 1st, 2020, that you can continue paying those things with the idle loan. And I see Wayne nodding, so I think that's an okay way to. All right, any other questions? I'm going to stop this share so I can see my chat. Or should I leave it up? I'll just, yeah, let me see there. If I made an error when doing an application, would I get an email to notify of the error? I believe you would if they could not, or it may be denied, and then you'd have to go back into and change it. Wayne, do you have any more guidance on that?
Yes, Mark, more likely you will eventually just get a decline of your application. So if you can just call the 800 number, and it's written there at the bottom of the number, and it's written there at the bottom. 1-800-659-2955. Call them with your application number. Tell them you thank you.
Wayne is saying call them with your application number and let them work you through, see if they can, you know, so that you can correct that. And if the 800 number, because that goes up and down in terms of volume and time, waiting time, and so on, there's also the email disaster customer service at sba.gov. Generally, there are three ways that idle loans, three things that we've been seeing in terms of why idle loans are being denied. And I will start and then Wayne will finish. One of the reasons is, again, erroneous information. If they or you entered something incorrectly, the loan will be denied, and then you got to go back and verify using this system. Another reason is if you have multiple businesses and the same physical address, then only the first business that you apply for an idle loan on will be approved for the idle loan, and any subsequent businesses that have the exact same address will be denied. And I can't remember the third one, Wayne.
The third one is lack of sufficient credit.
Okay.
So if you are lacking sufficient credit, first thing, whenever you apply for a loan, you should always know your credit ahead of time. I encourage you to look that up. SBA uses Experian. The score that they're typically looking for right now is, so if you know your credit score is below 570 or into 500, I wouldn't even apply for a loan. I would be sure I work with them to raise that first.
Mhm.
And Lisa, I'm going to try to not respond as much. I think that feedback might be coming from my computer.
Okay, we could always put it on chat if there's anything. I see a question on the EIDL. As a solopreneur, can I use the funds to pay myself? Payroll costs are payroll costs. You can use EIDL loan for payroll costs. I guess the only thing we were talking about is if you have both a PPP and an EIDL loan, that there is going to be some crossover in terms, you want to make sure that the time frame that your documentation is clear, so that you know that you will know when you use the PPP funds to pay yourself versus when you use the EIDL funds to pay yourself for maximum forgiveness on the PPP. Any other questions? If someone would like to unmute themselves and come on and ask a question, that's great too. We still have lots of time. I'm just going to scroll up to see if I missed anything.
Hello, this is Priscilla. I have a question.
Sure, Priscilla.
Hello. These have been so very helpful. Thank you, by the way. It helped me to get my EIDL loan. So thank you very much. I just want to know, is there any documents that I'm supposed to expect to come, loan documents from the EIDL now that I've gotten the money?
So the deferral is for 12 months. And because SBA has given the loan, you will probably, keep checking the portal that you have opened for that loan. And in time, they will start telling you the documentation that you will need and so on. If you have already got the loan, it means that they already have your documentation. And the only advice for now is that whatever the money is, if in your accounting system, you can keep that separate somehow so that the documentation that you submit as you start repaying the loan is just very clear, doesn't raise any red flags, and is accurate, so that it's an easy transaction in terms of the SBA looking at your application of the loan proceeds.
Okay, so just like normal taxes, you should keep normal records of all expenditures in relation to the EIDL.
Yes. And if that could be done on a separate GL line, or, the money kept separately somehow in your accounting, then that'll make it a lot easier when you are just submitting those documents.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
So let me ask, this is Norma, and thank you for all this orientation. It's very good. I just want to ask, what I did when I got the PP loan, I opened an account, a new account, so I could pay my employees through that account, so everything be registered for the use that I'm using it. That's okay?
So if you opened a new account and all of your documents in terms of your payroll expenses and so on are going to that should be fine, because the PPP now, that is for your lender to look at and recommend a level of forgiveness. The EIDL loan is done by SBA, and so that documentation will be submitted directly to SBA. The PPP loan is done through the lender, and so if the lender is the same lender that you have your accounts at, then they would be accustomed to how you run your business and what your accounting looks like. So it would be, it should already be streamlined.
Okay. What about the other one, the EIDL loan?
So
can we do Because can I put it there too?
You can, as long as you can determine because I mean, it's hard to just open an account for every single thing that you have. But I mean, if you're able to, just in terms of the way your bookkeeper does the accounts to show the application of certain funds or certain drawdown funds from the loan, and it is clearly stated in a different manner, that would be the easiest way for your lender versus the SBA to track the use of their money.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Now is the time. Don't worry, I'll get Wayne back speaking if we need to. So one of the things that we've come across that I'll give you a little heads up on is the interaction for those of you who have PPP loans and you also applied for an EIDL loan. So you have an EIDL loan and you have a PPP loan. Just that you know, the EIDL loan, the advance portion of it that you don't have to repay when you apply for PPP forgiveness, if you got that advance loan after April 3rd, then when you apply for PPP forgiveness, they are going to deduct the portion of the advance off the top of the PPP loan, and then the rest will be applicable for forgiveness, only because the advance is considered money that you were given that you don't have to pay back. So let's just say that you got $100,000 as a PPP loan, and let's just say you got an additional EIDL loan, and within that loan you got $5,000 advance, and you got the EIDL loan after April 3rd. What will happen when you apply for forgiveness is that they will say, you will say, okay, I'm applying for maximum forgiveness because I spent a minimum of, on 60% on payroll, and you have your other expenses, but the maximum that you will be eligible for forgiveness in that case will be $95,000, which is the total of the PPP loan minus the EIDL advance amount, which was $5,000 in this case. So that is how the EIDL advance and the PPP loan forgiveness interacts for people who have accepted both loans. So Miguel, the disbursement of the money, you will see one disbursement for the advance, and that will be probably with no notification and before you submit all of your documents. And then for the full loan, whatever you are approved of as a loan, that will probably be one more disbursement for the remainder of the loan. Wayne, gonna unmute and try this again.
No, I was just saying you're correct. It will be one disbursement from EIDL once for the loan portion.
For the loan portion. So if you see two different credits to your account, one is probably the advance and then one is the remainder of the loan.
Go ahead, Mark.
I'm hearing someone.
Sorry. Question, if in terms of the EIN number, someone have the owner of the company, they could use their own social security number in that EIN number, or they have to get a special EIN number, another number?
As far as I know, it's the exact tax ID number, the EIN number that you use for your business. That is what you need to use on your EIDL application.
Oh, okay.
And a lot of sole proprietors use your social, so that would be.
All right, thank you.
So what Wayne was saying, and I see his frustration, is that a lot of sole proprietors depending on how you you designate your businesses, you use your social security number. In that case, if that's how you normally like pay your gross receipts, etc., then it's appropriate there to use your social security number.
All right, thanks much.
You're welcome. Does anyone need to see another slide since we have them up?
Can you go over the slide for the program that's available only to the people in the Virgin Islands?
The program that's only available to the people in the Virgin Islands? No, it wasn't a program that, so all of these programs are available nationally. The numbers that we had put up are the use of the programs by businesses within the Virgin Islands. So you would see that, I don't know if that's the question, Mary Jo, but that's.
No, the special the training program.
7A.
Oh, okay, the
7A.
special program, this one. And yes, and it's a huge opportunity for businesses in the Virgin Islands to attend this event, only because the entire territory is designated a hub zone. Generally, these webinars are not open to many businesses, but because all of the Virgin Islands is designated a hub zone, not even Puerto Rico has the entire, they have sections. But the US, if you're a US Virgin Island business, then Wayne has secured, you know, across the board attendance for if you want to take part in this seminar. And, you know, the subjects are, the trainers are excellent. The subjects are very relevant at this time. And we put it up on the chat. We put up the, I know earlier on the chat, I put it on the thing so that you can write it if you don't want to take it off there we go. That's the link to the webinars. https://SBA.6 connects connex.com/event/SBA 8A virtual with a capital V / and then attendee login. Remember to choose Puerto Rico. There is not an option for the US Virgin Islands. And remember that your designation is as a hub zone recipient. HUBZONE. Okay. We encourage you to go on, you know, to check constantly this website, sba.gov/funding programs, to see the updates. There's reports every week on the PPP program, the interim rules that apply for forgiveness, all of the frequently asked questions for borrowers, the link for the forgiveness by small business is also there. Maybe that's another link I could put on the chat. Did I have it on one of the slides already? All right, I'm going to put that one on the chat. It's a PDF. Sorry. There we go. Default files. All right. Well, we're going to give us a last round to ask questions. And then if there are no other questions, we will wrap up this meeting a little early and allow everyone to get on with their afternoons and to call any businesses that you know and have them apply for the PPP tonight if they need to. Find a way through the VIEDA before 11:59:59. And also, if you're a customer, I think of, you know, one or two of the local organizations are still taking online.
Will this forum continue next week?
No. So we'll take a break once we have all of the forgiveness information and guidance nailed down. And, you know, not so, then we will probably do a few more on forgiveness directly. Would that be helpful?
Yes.
All right. Priscilla, we're very happy that you got an EIDL appropriation. You know, it's been quite a couple of months for everyone, for all of small businesses. We encourage you to stay the course, to continue to tap into all of the resources that are available to you by the government for technical resources. Call on the SBDC, become one of their clients. And, you know, it's going to take a lot more for us to continue to operate and flourish as a territory. And we've just, you know, Wayne and I are grateful to be a part of the resources, you know, at your availability, together with our partners at the SBDC and all of the other agencies we've been working with throughout this time. We just want to thank you for your participation and wish you a good evening. And Wayne says thank you too.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening, everyone.
Best.